Welcome to Jets Rewind. I'm Marty Schupak in New York. I'm joined by Ray Clifford in Ohio, Ralph Schrager in Massachusetts. We're about a little less than an hour removed from the Colts beating the Jets 28-27 in an incredibly frustrating game where everything's got to fall on the defense, in my mind, which
Not everything.
we'll talk about. Not everything, but Ralph, even Michael Clemens had a pretty good game. He one bad play. He actually, besides that, he played good.
Mhm.
But anyway, it was a typical Jets where we have a we seem to make the opposing quarterback look great. Well, last week made Kyler Murray look phenomenal. I think his passing percentage was close to 90%. He got Offensive Player of the Week, and I'm sure that Anthony Richardson is going to get Offensive Player of the Week.
I know.
A guy that throws a low percentage. We made him look great, and it was two 70-yard drives in the fourth quarter, one just under 3 minutes, and the other one just under 2 minutes. And I think a lot of it falls on Sauce Gardner. There was a 39-yard reception to Pierce, his former teammate, I think, at Cincinnati. And in fact, on the postgame show, Bart Scott really broke it down, and he said the same thing. When they're in that sort of coverage, he's got to force him to the outside. He's got to at least touch him within the 5 yards. I mean, it was ridiculous. And Sauce Gardner was in no man's land, and it wasn't the safety's fault, but of course, Sauce starts pointing at him afterwards. And I just got to tell you guys, I can't stand Sauce Gardner. I've been saying it for weeks and weeks and weeks. All right, with that, Ray, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. Uh, it was at least it was you know at half closing in on halftime. I thought, here we go again, just like Arizona. We're we're not going to do anything all day. But then all of a sudden we got a first down, first one in the second half with like 3 minutes left, and all of a sudden we looked like a team after that. So it turned into a competitive game, one we probably should have won, like numerous others this year. But I prefer that over what we got last week.
Yep. Okay, Ralph, how you doing? Because
Well, I
obviously, they listen to the show. The two things that happened, the positive, Ralph, is our tackling was better, and I looked like our kicker could actually kick the ball through the uprights. Go ahead, Ralph.
I just got a text from my buddy Matt Lewis. This sums up how I feel. He said, I would say that watching the Jets is like getting a colonoscopy, but that would be an insult to colonoscopies. Um, First of all, let's start at the beginning. Ray, how many years have we been talking about the fact that this team is unprepared to play at the beginning of games? I mean, what
Yep.
the hell is going on with it? It's ridiculous. I mean, it's like they get a wake up call too late. Set your alarm
Yeah.
an hour earlier. It's just,
Yeah.
it's mind boggling. This coaching staff they take so long to react to anything. Marty, you brought up another one of my pet peeves. The Jets have been pulling kickers off the street who are better than Zerline. We stuck with that guy for so long. You can just shake any tree and get a kicker who was better than that guy. And he lost the season for us. He lost Salah his job. It just drives me nuts every time I see that.
Yeah.
And
Um,
yeah,
Good. I just want to just quickly let me just go through the scoring by quarter, and then we'll break down a little bit because I want your reaction on a few plays. Ray, I know Ralph's favorite play was the early Jeremy Ruckert play, which
I'll
was
tell you, that was about to go down as one of the great blunders in Jet history.
I,
It
I
was
was I was listening on the radio as I was driving to the bar on that one, and Shoes and Anthony Becht were talking, and I thought, oh, this is so us.
right,
but then,
right,
but then they saw the replay and they're like, wait, that isn't even close. It wasn't.
right.
I know. Thank God he has terrible hands.
And and before I start with the scoring, I want to give the Colts coach credit because he came out with the obvious during the week. They want to put Anthony Richardson in to build up his confidence, and of course, the Jets are the perfect team to build up a
Yeah.
quarterback's confidence. And as the game went on, I mean, he was looking better and better. I mean, he made a few mental errors, but he was hitting players. He was actually on a couple of plays, he was going down and he still got the ball off. And I can't understand. I say it week after week, except for a few plays. It was a nice play. Devontae Adams made a nice run after the catch, but it amazes me how the opposition has guys wide open. We have a guy
It's
like
unbelievable.
Garrett Wilson, and we cannot get separation.
I
I,
know.
I don't understand it. It's week after week after week. And the only play that was close was that nice touchdown pass to Brees Hall, where obviously there was some sort of miscoverage, and there might have been a miscoverage on the play to Kenny Uboa also. That was a good play. But week after week, it drives me nuts. After the first quarter, we're losing 3-0. We go in at halftime down 13-7. It was
We didn't get a first down until like about 2 minutes left in the
right.
half.
They get a first down. I'm
Ray
going,
was upset about that. We were throwing a perfect game right
right.
there. I felt the same way. I
I,
wanted
I
to.
had I mentioned it and it jinxed him. I mean, I thought we were going to make it to halftime, but we didn't.
Yeah. And what happened was we got a turnover towards the end. I guess it was Richardson fumbled. Was that the play? And then we
Yeah, I'm still not sure who caused the fumble. It wasn't Quinnen. I think it was one of the. It might have been one of the safeties
right.
because
By
he
the
came
way,
from the other
yeah,
side of him.
Ray, I'm glad you mentioned. By the way, give at least Queen Williams or Quincy Williams. These guys
Oh,
have pride.
they
These
were
guys,
awesome.
they play every week.
Yeah,
Really,
they don't deserve this. They really don't.
they really
No,
don't.
And I sent you guys a text. They should be blitzing Quincy. He's like a torpedo, that guy. I
Yes,
mean, I've never
that
seen
was
anyone shoot. He's done that a few times, but like everything else with the Jets, when it's successful, they don't go back to it. I kept yelling the whole game, run wide. You had run wide about 2 times and it worked. And all they do is go up the middle for 1 yard. Then they ran wide a couple more times. Guess what? They made big
right.
yardage, and they don't. You can keep doing it until they stop it. What's the
right.
matter with these guys? It's
Yes, yes. Uh, in the third quarter, we outscored them 10-3. So after three, it was we were winning 17-16. And I guess the third quarter is when our Carlson hit that field goal. What was it, 58 yards?
58 yards. Yeah.
And talk about that thing just came in under the upright. Did you see that? That was close.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then in the fourth quarter, we outscored 12-10. They went for a 2-point conversion and missed it. And typical Jets with this coaching staff made a number of blunders, one of which was they called the timeout right before where they were going to get a delay a game, where Carlson would have had a kick, I guess, from, I don't know,
35.
35 instead
Right.
of 20, whatever it was.
Instead of 40, where he just kicked a 58 yarder. So it
Right.
wouldn't.
Yeah. And right after that, Ray, Ralph texted me, he said, "You got to be kidding. We're gonna need that timeout. What are they doing?" But it's obvious at this point, this coach, he's not a head coach. He's not head coaching material. At the time, I thought it was the right move to fire Robert Saleh. Obviously, now looking back, I'm not saying they would have been any better, but it was a mistake to do so. They should have kept him on to the end of the year. And I'll tell you, and I said it last week, Ralph, I'd asked the question, but I'm telling you, since this coach took over as head coach, our defense has gone worse and worse week after week. It's so obvious to me. I don't know if he just can't handle wearing two hats or what, but since Robert Saleh left, our defense is pathetic. Ralph?
Yeah. Only when it matters, basically, and any big play, keep hearing Adam Archuleta saying, every big play, the Jets can't stop them. And it's the same thing here, too. That breakdown on the last drive, the first play, 38 yards? Oh, ridiculous. I mean, that's it right there. Game over. You make this team work. And Marty, about the timeouts, Aaron Rodgers, more than anyone else on this planet, should know how valuable timeouts are. And he keeps playing this cute game with running the clock down, and he cost one earlier. They could have won the game. If they had their 3 timeouts, they could have won the game with 48 seconds left. All they needed was a field goal. This guy just kicked a 58-yarder. I don't know what he's thinking. I mean, this guy's been in the league for 20 years, and he's just goofing around, blowing timeouts all the time.
Right.
Well, the thing that gets me
Right.
too is he. First of all, I mean, I'm not going to blame everything on the defense because we still have the one of the worst offensive lines in the league. But at the end of the game, they're rushing three and they're still getting pressure on them. But I didn't understand how with when we're down to 13 seconds and he throws one to the middle of the field, and I'm just like, what? What was the possibility of doing anything at that point?
Right. Right.
What do you not practice this at all? Do you not practice, 2 minutes or last, final drives, get to the sideline, step out of bounds? That was just like, we aren't going to win. Let's throw one to the middle. And, if he doesn't break it, we'll just call it a
Right.
day.
As bad as to me, Aaron Rodgers again, he looks lost. He goes through these periods where he looks lost and a receiver will zig and he'll zag. Like there's one play where Devontae Adams was open in the middle and you could see he was frustrated. But then again, in the fourth quarter, he puts together some good passes. He had two third down passes, one to Gibson and one to Rucker, which were terrific. And I think on each one he had to move out of the pocket.
Yeah.
I just think, and I know he's going to be 41 in about 4 weeks or 3 weeks. The age factor has caught up to him, and I am begging that he doesn't want to come back next year and they don't invite him back. I just don't want him back. I want to just blow it all up. And again, as Ray always says to me, well, who do you have in mind? Ray, I don't have anyone in mind, but I
Well,
just go ahead, Ray.
yeah, I mean, at this point, you know, we're we're in that mode of we're better off losing than winning. But my thing with Aaron is beyond he does look off like he even with Devontae Adams he isn't on the same page. But what I believe is that he's going through what Zach Wilson went through, what Sam Darnold went through, and what every other quarterback since 2015 has gone through. Is that they have about 2 seconds to decide what they're going to do, and he doesn't look. He looks like all the others. He looks uncomfortable. He looks like he's just like, where can I get rid of this ball to? He's back, and all of a sudden he's more focusing on let me get the hell out of the pocket or get rid of the ball, one or the other, and that's just typical for our quarterback play for the last 9 years. And I hate to keep harping on it, but I'm going to keep harping on it. It's our offensive line. Until we fix the offensive line, this is what our offense is going to look like. We can't protect the quarterback. We don't open up holes. We don't have any push up the middle. That's the line. He can call any play he wants. If we can't get a yard on fourth down ever, it wasn't just today. It's been that way for the last 3 or 4 years at least. If you don't protect the quarterback, if you don't open up holes, your offensive line, your offense is going to be mediocre at best, and that's what we
Yeah.
are.
I mean, I agree. Offensive line is crucial, and their offensive line has stunk for the last few years. But beyond that, Rogers, I mean, every throw is behind
It's
guys.
terrible.
He's like Zach Wilson, and
Yeah,
we thought Zach Wilson, and the problem with Rogers is he's brittle and he's not mobile. So if you got an
no,
offense, and Marty, you said, what should we do? I think we should blow it up. We should keep Tyrod Taylor next year. Find us a young quarterback and let him sit. And we have to make the decision of who's going to be the general manager and the coach. And I know it's people say, well, it's going to take years. If you pick the right general manager and the right coach, you can turn it around quickly. Bill Parcells came in here on a 1-15 team and went 9-7. I know there are very few Bill Parcells in the world, and you say, well, how do we know we're going to get someone good? Well, we have to try, and if
yeah,
we don't, it's going to stink. It's always going to stink.
yeah.
So we're not going to be any worse off. I don't want Rogers back either. It's just a failed experiment, and we tried, but it just didn't work.
Well, if you look at most of the winning teams out there who have gone through this, they are on the downhill slide, and all of a sudden they have. I wonder how good our scouting staff is. They make good draft picks, they make smart trades, and next thing you know, a year later they're back. On the upward. They're back on the rise in the
A good
playoffs.
coach helps too. Look,
Good
Detroit.
coach.
Marty wanted Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell turned that team around.
Yep.
D'Amico Ryans came to Houston. They were the laughing stock of the league, and in 2 years, they were a playoff team. It can be done, The question is, who's going to make the hire? Is it going to be totally Woody Johnson? Is he going to bring in a consultant? Marty doesn't want that, but I don't. Do you really want Woody Johnson to make the call? I don't know how to do it, how to go about it.
I'm not sure how the tier is. I mean, he's got a vice president, this guy,
Yeah.
me, and I'm not sure, but I want the right decision. But I just want to add what you guys are exactly right. And you look at some teams, take a look at the Steelers. And the point I'm going to make is teams know when to cut their losses. I said after the second year, they should have got rid of Zach Wilson. Absolutely. I went on record saying that. Look
Hmm.
what the 49ers did, how quick they got rid of Trey Lance, and they kind of turned it around. They lucked into Brock Purdy, but they gave up a lot of draft picks. Look at the Steelers, as I said. They got rid of who's the guy? Pickens, the quarterback. What was
Yeah,
it?
Kenny Pickett. Kenny
Mhm.
Pickett, yeah.
Kenny Pickett. They turned it around. Everybody thought Russell Wilson was done. Even look at Denver. They were in cap hell with the Russell Wilson, and they didn't have a first round pick. But look at what this coach is doing to that team, and Bo Nix. I mean, he's only going to get better after this. So it's the organization. It's what Ralph has always said. The coach is the key. It's the coach is the god darn key person in the whole organization. And also you need a general manager. You have to do it right. Ray, I wanted to ask you, what do you think of the play to Tyler Conklin on fourth down
Um, which one?
when they
Yeah.
direct snapped it to him?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
4th and 1. You
Uh,
like that running play?
Yeah.
yeah, that counts as a running play. You want to try trick
Ralph,
plays? Go ahead. You
Ralph,
know,
what did you think of it?
That play, Miami pulled on us a couple of years ago at the goal line, and of course they scored. And this is the second time we've tried to replicate it, and of course we failed both times.
close that.
I mean, and the announcers were saying, "Wow, that's a really unusual play." I said, "No, they stole that play from the Miami coach who scored a touchdown against us." And of course, we can't execute the play correctly.
Ray, I want to ask you this. I mean, to you, next year, does it matter to you if the new coach is an offensive coach or a defensive coach? Does that matter to you? Because it seems like a lot of Jet fans are hung up on that.
No, I think I know people argue either way. I don't think it's one or the other is necessarily better. I mean, I think like your assistant coaches mean everything. If you pick the right guys for your system, you don't have to be a defense. I mean, I prefer a defensive coach, but I don't think it's a must. I mean, you can get an offensive coordinator who can be everything that an offensive minded head coach would be, because you want the head coach to be able to kind of keep track, oversee everything. I like a defensive coach myself. I've always liked that, and just have him not have any say at all in the offense. I like him to be involved in everything, but get a good offensive coordinator with a good system, and you're okay. But I'm always going to refer back to, I don't care who the coach is until you fix the offensive line. When I see that, then I'll be glad to debate who should be the coach. But
Well, I think the coach will have something to do with if you have a good
hopefully,
coach, he'll fix the offensive line.
hopefully,
I
but
think I think a guy who's meant to be a good NFL coach will be able to deal with both sides of the ball. Parcells and Belichick were both defensive guys,
yeah,
and they both developed quarterbacks and were really good with them. And we got to find the guy who's the best guy available. If it's an offensive guy, fine. If it's a defensive guy, fine. It's a big moment. They have to make the right choice. They haven't since Parcells, basically. I mean, Herm Edwards, I think he had three playoff appearances in 5 years. You want to consider him a really good coach? Nah, I think he was okay. That's
yeah,
about it in the last 25 years for this franchise.
yep.
Well, Rex Ryan inherited some good players. He had a couple of good years, and then the team fell apart.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
so,
A
Well,
couple.
that's why I didn't want Tannenbaum back. I don't know about you guys, but
Well,
Trader Mike to me is just,
I,
you know,
I want to get into a few stats of the game, and we're talking about the Jets losing 28-27 to the Colts. But I just want to mention that Rex Ryan's name keeps coming up, and he's lobbying for the job.
Oh God.
Whatever it is. I don't want him. And then this week, Boomer Esiason started lobbying for John Gruden, who wants to get back.
Oh, that's even worse. I mean,
I don't want him either. And I
do people
think
forget what happened to him in with the Raiders recently? It was a
I
disaster.
know. I know.
The game has passed him by.
Yeah. I don't want him. And I let it be known. I think Ralph did. I don't know if Ray did that the one guy out there right now, Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator for Minnesota, who was a head coach in Miami and he got let go. I would love to have him as a head coach. I don't really have any other candidates, to be honest with you. I don't know these offensive and defensive coordinators. I have no idea. The one thing I can tell you this is that whoever they get as head coach, they're going to want to pick their own quarterback. That is such a huge thing for these new head coaches. I see what Dable's going through right now with the Giants and Daniel Jones. So you could expect that whoever the new head coach is, he's going to want to draft a quarterback. What Ralph said about having the backup as a sort of a bridge quarterback, I would draft two quarterbacks in my mind. It's not a big year for quarterbacks. But look, we'll see. We really never know, you know that. But let me go over a couple of stats and we'll talk more about the game, then we'll close this out. Richardson was 20 for 30, 272 yards, one TD. He rushed for 32 yards, scored two touchdowns.
By the way, Marty, that's 66 or 67%. He's came in the game as a 44%
Right.
passer. So
That's right.
there
Which
you
is
go with that defense.
which is incredible. Our secondary is terrible. And I'll tell you one thing they did do, I noticed. I thought they adjusted. I thought the first half, Ray, I don't know if you noticed this. I thought Jonathan Taylor looked great in the first half. They did something to adjust it, but then that opened up the secondary. Did you notice that?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely shut down the run for the most part. Even other than his touchdown runs, Richardson didn't go crazy on the ground after the
No, but you're right. Then and the Jets, then that team, they drove through the Jets, like you said, Marty, like a hot knife through butter.
Oh,
yeah.
And the Jets should have changed again.
yes.
Yeah.
But they
But I wonder if with Taylor, if you remember, it seemed like the last good run he had, he bashed his head on the ground and
Yes.
went into the
yeah.
game for a bit. And I'm wondering if that was affecting him. But he didn't seem to have a lot of room to run either. I mean, I think they did a better job, much better job defensively. I mean, I was very
On the
heavy
run.
for the most part on the run, the run and getting some pass rush from our defense. But the pass defense,
Oh God, the last two drives, it was
it wasn't.
horrible. It was just like ridiculous. Those guys are all wide open.
And I'm looking at they're showing Sauce after he gets burned again, and he's just standing there shaking his head, and I'm like, this guy's lost every bit of his confidence.
It's ridiculous. And the announcers go, he doesn't give up that many. It's because only when they throw to him does he give something up, basically.
Well,
It's like,
we mentioned it a few weeks ago when they lost to Denver. Sean Payton came out and he said we wanted to put Sauce Gardner in a position where he had a tackle. Now that's when we were on him about his tackling, which we've been on him since his rookie year. But if you read between the lines with Sean Payton, he was kind of saying also he didn't think much of Sauce Gardner as a complete football player too. And he was right on the money. Can he be a complete football player? We're gonna have to see.
how
And he,
much, how much, how much you think he's worth on the market right now, draft wise? What do you think,
uh,
Ray?
fourth round pick.
Uh, yeah, probably a fourth. We'd be amazing,
Unbelievable. Is
lucky to
that
get.
unbelievable?
It
Yeah,
is unbelievable because we could have traded him last year for a couple firsts. So
Ralph,
much for that.
Ralph, he gets the Eric McMillan Award. And like you said,
Eric McMillan played well until he disappeared. He gave us about 4 good years.
he had a lot of interceptions too. Sauce.
A
And
lot.
by
He
the
had
way,
about four or five pick
I want
sixes.
to mention that I don't know what the numbers are, but since this coach took over as head coach, what have we had? Like one turnover we've gotten? 2 turnovers in 6.
Well, we hardly had any before too, so that was kind
Agreed.
of predictable. They mentioned that. Did you hear all the stats they were throwing in the first half? Jets like second in the worst in the league, fourth worst in the league of this one, worst in the league of that one. One of them was like fifth worst, and I was going, "Wow, that's really good for them." It's like,
Right,
I
right.
mean, it's just an embarrassment, and we've been going through this for 3 years. We've been hearing this. This is like historically bad offense. Heard with during the Wilson years. And then you have a game like this where they don't get a first down against a crummy team like in Indianapolis. It's amazing. It's just amazing.
And I kind of felt bad. I watched Jeff Ulbrich. You know, we know he's over his head, but they kept trying to pin him down, and all he would say was, "I got to do a lot of more self-evaluation." He kept repeating it. Finally, one reporter said, "Coach, in all due respect, you've been saying that for like, 4 or 5 weeks." He goes, "Well, I have to do it. This is the week to do it. We have a bye." It's going to be for this guy. It's going to be like the longest end of the year he's ever going to experience.
Be
So
careful what you wish for.
that's true. I remember I was coaching an all-star team one time in baseball. We were losing in the first inning, 9-0. The other team had the bases loaded and no outs. I remember standing on the sideline. I said, "This game will never end." I'll never forget that. I remember, and I thought about that with just Jeff Ulbrich today. It's like this season's never going to end.
Didn't they have the mercy rule?
No, actually, it was funny because we got out of it. We ended up losing the game like 12-7, which was incredible. But
Well, it makes me think of the great John McKay line after his team lost like their 14th straight games. Just, what'd you think of your team's execution? He said, "I'm all for it."
that's a great line.
You know?
All right, quickly, the Jets stats, and then we're going to have some more comments, just close out this show because we are exhausted from the season. Aaron Rodgers, 22, 29, 184 yards, 2 TDs, 3 sacks, 22 yards. I know you guys said he can't move anymore, but 2 of the third down plays, he did move his feet. He looked pretty
Yeah.
good on
I
that.
mean, those numbers sound better than they really
Oh,
were.
yeah, I agree. I mean, the first half, he was ridiculous. Brees Hall, 16 for 78. As you guys always say, why don't they run him to the outside? And then they ran him and they scored. He scored a touchdown. He scored a touchdown on the ground, and he also scored a touchdown receiving. I think I saw Rich Samini said that's the first time he's ever had a game like that, which is it.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. And Braylon Allen had 2 rushes, 6 yards. He had actually had a nice run that was
Oh
brought.
yeah, that's called back by Olu. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was kind of another ticky tack
That
call.
didn't
It
look
was really, come on. It's like,
that
Yeah.
was really close to me. Yeah.
Devontae Williams, 6 receptions, 72. He had a really nice one. Brees Hall, 7 for 43. Garrett Wilson, 4 for 18. I don't understand what we're doing with him. Xavier Gibson, 1 for 17. It was a third down play. Kenny Uboa, our new best receiver, 1 for 11 yards, a touchdown. And Ralph, Malachi Corley had 1 reception for 10 yards.
I know he's back. He's
He's
back.
back. And Jeremy Ruckett had a reception for 6. It was a third down play. And Conklin, 1 for 7. Just quickly on defense, Michael Clemens had 8 tackles, led the team. I thought Michael Clemens, and we've all been on him, I thought except for one play where he took the wrong angle,
Yeah, yeah.
Anthony Richardson, I thought he had a pretty good game.
I thought Leonard Taylor made some nice plays too.
Leonard Taylor made 2
He should
nice
get
plays.
more. He should get more reps. But
Yeah. Quinn Williams played his heart out.
King
He had 7 tackles, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. Jalen Mills, 6 tackles. Jamie Sherwood, 6
was it
tackles.
Jalen Mills or Oliver who blew that last pass that Sauce passed off onto him?
I think it was, I'm not sure. I think it was Mills. Mills was 35.
Yeah, yeah.
Because then Clark is 36.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was 35.
It was either Mills or Oliver. So it was Mills
Right.
then. Yeah.
Quincy Williams had 6 tackles, and he didn't get credit. He should have got credit for a sack. They gave it to his brother, I think. Javon Kinlaw had 5 tackles, a sack. DJ Reed, 4 tackles. Chaz Surratt had 4 tackles. I don't remember.
I didn't even see him in the game.
I didn't either. Ray, do you remember Charles Surratt, number
Chester.
Yeah, I do remember
55?
one play, which I think he was out of position and
Yeah.
and wasn't there because I
55.
remember him coming off the field and they were talking to him about where I thought he was explaining why he wasn't in the middle of the field where he should have been.
I don't remember him at all.
Yeah. Sauce
Well, he
Gardner,
didn't make the tackle, so I probably didn't get
Oh,
any
right.
stats for it.
Gardner, 4 tackles. I hate
yeah,
that.
he went for another piggyback ride in the right in
Yes,
the
he did.
first.
Isaiah Oliver, 3 tackles.
Sauce tackle
Michael
low.
Carter had a very nice play behind
Yeah, yeah,
the
the,
scrimmage, 3 tackles. Eric Watts, I didn't know he played either. He was credited.
yeah. I noticed he made a couple of plays, not bad.
Now, Ray, Will McDonald had 2 tackles. Did he put any pressure on today?
Not very much, if at all.
Yeah, our two bookend edge rushers are
Yeah,
invisible,
they
basically.
didn't really do much of anything. It was Quincy and Quinnen were our main guys. Kinlaw Kinlaw picked up that fumble, and then it looked like he might have fumbled it before he
He
Right.
did, yeah.
everybody was like, "Oh no!" And
Hey,
then
you
I was
think
like,
Reddick's going to get a big contract?
Well,
He's
I was going to
playing.
say he had 1 tackle. And I heard Bart Scott said before the game, he said he thought Reddick was going to go wild. Should have had a great game. The Colts had 3 rookie offensive linemen starting
Wow,
too.
unbelievable,
Ray, on,
unbelievable.
on that play with Kinlaw, Ralph could tell you, I always said this. My high school coach, the great Tony DiMario, always, I don't want your fat linemen trying to pick up the fumbles because you always pick it. Just fall on it. We'll score a touchdown after that. So,
well, that one did kind of bounce up to him, but I was just like, "Don't run with it; just fall down, and
right.
be
And
done."
Isaiah Davis had a tackle. Ralph, I'll never understand why he wanted to run that ball out to kick off.
Well,
He,
I would even if he caught it in on the five, I wouldn't want him to run it. He's so slow; it's unbelievable. I went and got a coffee, and by the time he reached the tacklers,
oh
it
my
was like,
God, it was just
he's
yeah, it was just awful. There was one play where it was kind of borderline, but it was a punt. And we all thought that after Gibson called a fair catch, they hit him. They went to commercial. We couldn't understand it. They came back and they threw the flag. But the other guy on the TV, Ray, the officiating expert, say he wouldn't have thrown it. What was your
yeah.
opinion on that, Ray?
On which play?
With Gibson, we called a fair catch. He got hit.
Oh, yeah.
The guy on TV,
Um,
what's his name? Sanator or something?
Gene Steratore, and I've never been a huge fan of Gene. I think I don't. I think he was wrong. I didn't think the guy was. They were kind of battling each other side by side. It wasn't. I don't think he. I don't think he helped him into Gibson at all. I thought that was all on his own. Uh, his own momentum took him, and I thought that was the right call personally. If he was behind him and gave him any kind of a shove, I would have agreed. But they were kind of hand battling side to side, so I don't know how he
Yeah, then he
forced
took a
it.
couple of steps after contact
Yeah,
was ended. Yeah,
yeah.
I agree with you on that. He didn't hit him as hard as I thought. I thought he got blasted, but
Yeah.
when you saw in the replay,
Yeah.
he just sort of got clipped a little bit. But if he had been catching the ball and got hit, and then they don't call that, man, that would have been disaster.
Well, that was what, a 28 or more yard
Yeah.
change of field position.
Yes,
So
it
When
was.
they again, I think they just got a field goal out of
I
that.
mean, didn't you think at one time during the games, like, we're going to win this game? I did. I really thought they were going to win this game at one
Yeah,
point.
I watching Richardson the first half, I just didn't feel like he could take the team down the field, and then suddenly he became
It was,
Dan Marino. It
yeah,
was like ridiculous. But
that was,
yeah,
like you said, Marty, these guys are wide open, and I feel that way. I'm thinking that all the time. It's like you watch the Jet guys; they're just blanketed, and if
but
Rodgers completes one, it's got to be perfect.
is it because they're playing a zone? Then play man to man. I mean, Sauce should keep up with the guy. DJ Reed should also. And even though Ralph's favorite Tony Adams was benched, I mean, our safeties aren't awful. They're average at best, but they're average. So I
Yeah.
don't understand what, I mean, I would play man to man. I just don't get it. These guys are so wide open. I know it just kills me. All right, our next game is, believe it or not, December 1st. We're hosting the Seahawks, which is a
Wow, we get Geno Smith back in town, huh?
must. We have a bye next week. Must see TV, of course. And as I'm talking, the Chiefs were beating the Bills 7-6. I'll give an update. I just want to know before we close it out. Any final words, Ray, Ralph, Ray?
Well, Buffalo is now winning, so
Oh, they are. What's the score?
yeah, 13-7.
Buffalo's got to win this game. Kansas City has been just waiting to be beaten, and it's got to happen this week. No, I'm looking forward to a week off. Well, boy, we need it badly with this team.
You ain't kidding.
No.
I honestly, it's hard to do as a fan when I'm watching. I want them to win, but I'd take a loss like this pretty much most of the weeks just to raise our draft stock. But I'd rather see this than the Arizona thing. But one quick thing about anything else, you got that email from the guy who emailed you, Marty, and I was looking through what he wrote. We did kind of a touch
You
on
want
it.
to mention his name? He's a really good fan.
Jim Miller.
Jim Miller. Jim, this is to you. So, Ray, read the question.
He basically reviewed where they are. He said reviewing it's a waste of time. We can't change the owner or but the administration, all the coaches have to be replaced. He said he agrees with Rich Shmini. They need a football strongman like Parcells to rebuild the franchise from scratch, but where to find him. So we kind of touched on some of it a little bit. So Rodgers just announced he wants to come back, and he did, but that doesn't mean we have to bring him back, but we're going to pay for it if we don't. So he just wants to, thoughts on where we go from here. And I think we touched on it a bit. I think he's right. We got to find somebody along the Parcells mold. And I think it's but that's that's not an easy thing. Where do you find a Parcells or a Belichick?
Right.
Well, I think you got to find one from scratch because there's going to be a lot of coaches fired. I was reading a list of the guys who look like they're going to be going, and the Jets will be one of the least desirable jobs, if not the least desirable job.
The least desirable job.
And well, maybe Carolina was worse
because it's a tough owner. Do you have at the top of your head the teams they mentioned?
No, I don't have the top of my head.
We can figure it out. Carolina, the Jets,
Chicago, definitely,
yeah.
Probably Tennessee, maybe Tennessee.
Who else?
I wouldn't mind Vrabel. I still wouldn't mind Vrabel. I just
would be good. He might.
I don't know if he'd want to come here, but
the problem is if we want to get rid of Rodgers and he wants to stay, the way to get rid of him is to bring in a new offensive scheme. So he won't want to learn that. So that'll be a get out of jail free card. We probably go look, Aaron. Let's.
You know what?
I think Vrabel would be that guy. I don't think Vrabel would be going. Okay, we're gonna. He'd probably be the kind of guy who goes, "It's going to be my way or the
right."
I'm not interested.
But
I like that.
What I do is I say, "Look, Aaron, you want to stick around? You're going to be the backup. We got to put this organization in the right direction." So I'm
not going to say you would be, but I'd say you might be. It's going
to listen, I'm not afraid that much of salary cap hell because too many teams get out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Too many teams, as Ralph said, become competitive within 1 or 2 years. So it doesn't scare me if you have the right people, if you have the right structure. It just does not scare me anymore, really. And there are a lot of different things. I like draft picks, but look what the Rams did a few years ago. They traded all the draft picks too. You got to have the right doggone coach in there.
Yeah.
By the way, Indiana just re-signed their coach for 8 more years. Indiana University. In college.
8 more years? That guy's
8 more years. The Italian guy.
Oh, the college.
Well, Ray, you think that next week the game of the week is Indiana, Ohio State, but it's not. It's Georgia against UMass. I'm looking forward to that one.
No, I got a better one. The bye could not come at a better week. I'll tell you why. Yesterday, the visiting Arizona State Sun Devils beat Kansas State, number 14.
They did.
We're sitting, I think, either 7-2 and 8-2. Now we play number 7 ranked BYU in Tempe, Arizona on Saturday.
Oh, God, I hope they beat
BYU just lost to somebody, too.
Oh, they lost? Oh, that's not.
I thought they lost yesterday.
Oh, boy.
I'd have to look it up to be sure, but
I can't believe they gave that guy the 8 years. Now he's going to go into Ohio State and lose by 40 points. Watch.
He was smart to sign before that game. That's a good businessman. All right.
Well, there's always a buyout on those. So
if
the Jets wanted the guy, none of these college contracts are written in stone.
If I was
they could
on the
make it.
committee picking, the playoff teams, any of these power teams that played a crap team like late in the year, like Alabama played Mercer or Georgia's playing UMass, I would penalize them for that stuff. That is such garbage.
Yeah,
You
it
want to
drives
play
me.
them opening game, treat it like an exhibition game, fine. But at this point in the year, it's an embarrassment. I know it's a money grab, but they
Yeah.
should be penalized for that.
Ray, talking about contracts, I don't know if they still have it, but it used to be a regular contract like in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and 90s, in fact, that coach signed a contract. They always had a Notre Dame clause in there. And if he was offered the head coaching job at Notre Dame, he could get out of that contract.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
by the way,
Yeah.
Kansas beat by BYU. Number 6 BYU lost to Kansas at home, 17-13.
Marty,
So,
Bad
speaking of Notre Dame, Jerry Faust died this week.
Jerry Faust and who was it? It was Jerry Faust and somebody else the same day.
I'm sorry to hear that, Jerry Faust.
Yeah, do you know Jerry Faust? He was the coach at Moeller High in
Oh,
Cincinnati.
Yes.
yes.
Who was
Yeah.
the quarterback for Moeller High about 5 years ago?
Who's the quarterback from where?
For Moeller High about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe.
Arch Manning.
Deuce McBride.
Deuce McBride.
And he was good too. He could have played. He was recruited by Division I teams. I've watched film of him.
Ralph, we have an international show. Just tell the Jets Rewind fan who Deuce McBride is.
Deuce McBride, come on, everyone knows he's on the Knicks. He's their sixth man.
The sixth man. He was hurt the other day, but
Yeah, I
right.
mean he got hurt his senior year playing football and said that's it for football. I'm going to play basketball. So he goes to West Virginia to play for Bob Huggins. That's got to be worse than playing on any football team.
Wow. Ralph, I
remember
got to
that.
send you something, Ralph. There was something someone sent to me
What?
one year. Which is the good high school in Maryland? Begins with a D. Dunbar.
The Mather.
DeMatha.
Yeah.
The team with Muggsy Bogues. I read it. I got to send it if I find it. It was like the Mount Vernon High School team. With Gus Williams.
Yeah, that wasn't the Mather. I know the team he was on. He was on it was another Baltimore team.
Was it?
Think of it. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Was it with like or Reggie Williams or guys like that?
I think
Yeah.
that was it. Yeah, it was like all five. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
We should have put them up against Mount Vernon.
Yeah.
Again. All right, for
Dunbar.
Dunbar.
Yeah.
One quick other guy. I
Right,
remember
right.
the other guy who died. You might remember student body right or student body left.
John Robinson. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and John.
Him
Yeah.
and Faust died the same day, and they were the same age.
Yeah, and he
Wow.
also was coach of the Rams for.
And we know who the better college coach was between those two.
Yeah.
All right. With that, we're going to close it out and we're going to take a little bit of a break. So I guess I'm going to go into my 22nd Thanksgiving. Listen, all Jets Rewind fans, we want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. We're going to be off for a little bit. And please just make sure if you have some cans in your cabinet, there are a lot of people that are worse off than you. And just forget about politics. It doesn't matter. Just try to get 1 or 2 cans and go to your local church or synagogue or mosque or whatever. They'll have a food bank. So with that, for Ray Clifford, Ralph Schrager, Marty Schupak, until next time.